Alright guys, it's Mike from the Kodi Outlet again, here to bring you episode 4. Um, episode 3 kind of got a little long in the tooth. My apologies for that. There was a lot to cover, and I kind of lost track of time. And oddly enough, on this particular video, it might be so incredibly short that I really should have just combined the two videos and split them down the center, but I digress. Let's get right to what we're here for today, and that is making your life simpler when it comes to installing those add-ons that I was showing you how to do in episode 3. I find it's a good thing to know how things can be done manually before you start doing the automatic route, because when the automatic route starts failing, you need to know how to pick up pieces from where they fall. So being able to go to the web and search for add-ons yourself, find out how to install them yourself, put them in on yourself. Those are all good things to do. It's going to help you troubleshoot your problems better when you have a better understanding on how they function. But today I'm going to show you how to have a little bit more of a streamlined approach behind that. And oddly enough, I tried to shoot this video a few times today because unfortunately I'm not going to be able to showcase everything exactly how I'd like to. There are some automated installation options I'm about to show you here, but because I'm showing them to you on a Windows machine, they don't function quite as well as they would on an Android machine. So that was my first attempt. In attempt number 2, I went and installed an Android emulator on my computer. Started to do it through that. Things were looking good, and then every attempt I made to test an add-on for you would crash the application because it just couldn't handle it. So I had to put that video project aside, and here we are starting fresh. Attempt number 3. I'm going to show you how to make use of this particular method. You'll just have to take my word on some of the ways I'll be describing it, as I may not necessarily be able to showcase it. So, if you recall in episode 3, I showed you how to install Exodus. The Exodus add-on that we went and searched Google for, it told us to make use of a URL known as Fusion. Fusion is really the front and center option here. It's the one that's now tried to go ahead and make things a lot simpler for people. It's kind of taking add-ons and builds from all over the place and put them into one location. So I'm going to show you real quick that I'm starting fresh. Don't have any extra zips in here. These are all the default repos. I literally just put everything on here from scratch just to avoid confusion. There are no add-ons in here, no content. So we're going to start like you would on a brand new fresh Kodi install. We're going to go from System. Across the bottom, we're going to pick File Manager, Add Source, and we're going to type in basically the only URL that you're going to have to worry about for hopefully a good long time. And that's http://fusion.tvaddons.ag. Hit done. We have to pick a name for the source. It's called Fusion, so we'll call it Fusion. In episode 3, if you recall, I named it Test because I already had Fusion set up prior to filming that episode. We're actually going to call it Fusion here, just like the instructions indicated on the internet. What I'm going to do though to help bring this option in my list up to the top, so I'm just going to prefix it with a special character, such as a period. Hit done. Hit OK. We're going to back out now and go to System, Add-ons, Install from Zip, and you'll see now that Fusion is here and it is right at the top of the list due to the period. So just like we saw in episode 3, it adds itself to the same list you would go to add your personal content from either your local machine or from the server or from your network at home. And it kind of just puts itself in as if it's its own drive on your machine when really it isn't. So we'll click on that, and you've got a few options. Scripts isn't something I necessarily go into. Repos, if you wanted to, and you knew the repos that you wanted to deal with, you could go direct into here and say English and find the specific ones that you want. There are a lot of big name repos in here like Eldorado. Here's the Exodus that we went through. A little further down you'll find things like Kinkin, Lambda, Metal Kettle's really popular, Pod God's really popular, TK Norris is really popular. So you could just go direct to some of these. International's got a ton for varying languages. So if you wanted to get content in, say, Filipino or French, these options are here. Back out of that. And then, of course, Fun Times for All in the third choice. So we're going to back out. What we're going to focus on is the Start Here choice. Now, this is the area that's kind of broken, unfortunately, for Windows. The most popular spot to start will be Hub Wizard. What Hub Wizard will do, and I'll go ahead and I'll install this first, and we'll talk about it briefly. And I'll show you how it works without actually showing you how it works. So it's activated now. We're going to go home. It's going to be a program listing, so it's in Programs, and here's Config Wizard. Now this will work, this Fusion install setup will work on any of these particular operating systems that you see here listed. However, for me at home personally, I only use it on two. I use Windows and Android, and I find the Android one works perfectly and the Windows one fails almost entirely. There's night and day. So what this config wizard does is it takes everything in a predetermined list of add-ons, moves it into your Kodi, organizes it, puts them into the right menu options, gives you shortcut links to them, and then changes your background to a background that mentions, that this was all made possible to you by tvaddons.ag, and it gives you the fact that you can go to visit their Twitter and their Facebook. So they're promoting themselves. It's essentially a build. It's just a very streamlined build. So it's very no fuss, no muss, cut to the chase. You want add-ons, here's your add-ons. Your add-ons are in place, that's it. I'm not going to start changing the colors on your machine and changing the skin and linking stuff all over the place and adding in weather widgets and adding in TV guide widgets and a whole bunch of stuff that you may not use. It does give you a lot of stuff and you may not use it all, but it is definitely a lot more streamlined and compact when compared to what else is out there for builds. So this is a good starting place for anybody who wants a quick and easy setup on their Android box. Just note that the Windows one isn't working as well as it should. I haven't tested it on Apple or Linux yet. They may be fine. The Windows one is problematic, and it may be because I'm on Windows 10. I don't recall it being an issue back on Windows 7, so it may just be that they need to bring it up to date and they haven't yet. But we're going to back out of that, and because we can't make a use of it out of this video, we're going to go back to add-ons, zip file, Fusion, start here. We're going to use the other option that is here for you, and that's add-on installer. So we're going to click on that, give that a few moments to load in. And it's ready to go. So we'll go back to home. This too is a program, so we'll find it in Programs. Here's add-on installer. Click on that, let it set itself up for first time use. And this is what you get. So I made mention that if you ran the Hub Wizard or the Config Wizard and you told it to launch based on your operating system, it would grab a pre-selected set of add-ons. Those add-ons are actually here in the featured list. So if I go into here, you might have an idea of the kind of things that you would end up with on your version of Kodi by running it. So unfortunately some of these icons aren't loading in properly, they're kind of flickering. Come back in and see if it fixes itself. There we go. Alright, so you can see some of the big names are here, Exodus being one of them. Anybody who knows a lot about Kodi probably recognize names like Salts. Here's PrimeWire, One Channel, one of the ones I was making mention of in episode 3. Sports Devils, popular for sports. We looked at a indication that I said that Velocity would be my backup to Exodus, so Velocity is actually here. I use this one, Royal We, also as a backup to Exodus, as well as One Channel. Phoenix is in here, the one I said was giving me problems that I've since resolved on my own. Salts is in here. There's UK TV, US TV, UK Turks. These are 3 live channel streaming add-ons, as is Channel Pair and Cloud TV. Then you also have Castaway, which is a good sports add-on, especially for archiving sports. And yeah, there's some of the stuff will just get dropped onto your system and ready to go. So what we're going to do, rather than run the hub wizard, which is going to basically fail for us and be a poor example of what it would do on an Android machine, is I'm just going to run through the installation process using the add-on installer as you see here. So rather than go to the web and search for how to install Exodus, once you've got the Fusion installer, you just come in here and you click on Exodus. Make this look a little bit better. Say install Exodus. Give it a moment. It's going to install both Exodus and perhaps even some of its dependency add-ons, some stuff to make it function better, you might see. So you're going to see a few progress bars shoot by in this installation. And when it's all done, say success. So we'll say okay, we'll go back home. We'll head on over to videos. And as you can see, Exodus is now in place. Clicking on it, and now we're back to looking at, we can go back to movies, we can go back to people watching, just like I showcased in episode 3, and we're right back to looking at all the same stuff. So that's just an example of how much easier it is to install Exodus when you don't have to go searching for how to install Exodus. Once you have Fusion in place, it kind of does a lot of the work for you. So we'll go back, we'll take a look for something else here. Let's say we want salts. Highly popular, frequently used add-on right alongside Exodus. This one's installed, ready to go. Okay, now maybe we want one channel. Install one channel. And just like that, one channel's ready to go. Back out. Which one should we toss on now? We'll toss on Phoenix. And Phoenix should be ready. So if I go back now to the video menu, should see, once I back out of Exodus, that we have a lot more choices, and they were literally brought in within seconds, about a minute, minute and a half, and we brought all these in. Didn't have to tab out of Kodi, didn't have to do a bunch of searching within Google, didn't have to follow a bunch of instructions. It was literally once we had the Fusion installer in place, we were able to put them all in manually, pretty much with no effort. Now this is made even easier on Android, like I said, where you can just go to the Hub Wizard and tell it you want to install the Android version of the Hub Wizard, and it will drop all this stuff into your Kodi, pre-configured and ready to go for you within a couple minutes, along with some of those other ones. And that's pretty much it. So we went from basically an hour-long video showcasing how to do everything manually, as well as some additional stuff like editing the settings within an individual add-on per se, and how to read the list of servers and how you operate with that. This was clearly a lot faster. So I'm sorry if the hour-long video was a scary endeavor, but it's important to understand how things work in case these more automated efforts that are available to you start failing. If your build starts failing, if you need to do an update on an add-on yourself, you're going to want to know how to do these things, and it's the manual steps that's going to help you along, not the automated steps. So a few other things I'm going to show you. We're going to back out. Because this video so far is only just a few minutes in length, I'm going to start adding a little bit to it that's going to be helpful for you. One of the things I mentioned was updating. So we're going to System, we're going to Add-ons. From this screen, if you move over to your sidebar, you can go down and say check for updates. This will scan all the repositories that are currently in place and tell you that it's doing updates to your add-ons. Now, these add-ons will update if you open and close Kodi kind of thing. In an Android TV box world, sometimes you don't always exit out of Kodi. You just kind of turn off your box or turn off your TV and let the box go. And when Kodi's not actively loading up, it's maybe not necessarily scanning for the updates as often as you may want it to. Just coming here and telling it to check for updates. Great way to do it. You can do it from the repository list as well, so it doesn't really matter what screen you're on. The effect is basically the same. So we're going to back out. It's just an example of doing that. I'm going to show you how to maybe add some shortcuts to the screen now that you have some content in here. So we're going to go to System. We're going to go to Appearance. Skin, we're going to leave on Confluence for this example. We're going to go to Settings. Head on over to Add-on Shortcuts. And this is an example of being able to add submenu shortcuts. So this would be underneath the video submenu. We're going to want to pick our first shortcut. So we'll say add-on 1, we want it to be one channel. Add-on 2, we want it to be Exodus. Add-on 3 will be Phoenix. Add-on 4, Salts. Add-on 5, we'll just pick YouTube. There really is only 5 right now. If there were a bunch, then you'd have to make a decision as to which 5 you want to showcase, because you can only have 5. Music we won't worry about. Pictures we're not going to worry about. Programs, let's find some for that. So we'll say the add-on installer, and we'll say the config wizard, and we'll just pick those two. In fact, you know what? Let's not even worry about the config wizard because it's not working for Windows anyway, but we do like to make use of the add-on installer if we ever want to add more add-ons. So we'll back our way out, go back here. Now if I move over, we now have a submenu shortcut. Move over a little bit more, and now we have submenu shortcuts here as well. If you recall in episode 1, I kind of showcased how to limit this menu, so we can try and do that again. We'll go to Appearance, Skin Settings, Home Window. We're not going to use music or pictures, so we're going to dot both of these, hide them. Weather isn't necessarily showing yet, but what the hell, we'll hide it anyway because we really don't like weather. Back out of here. Now we've just got 3 things, and moving across them give us quick link shortcuts at the bottom to the most popular selections we would have within there. Now, if there was 3 dozen different video add-ons, we may only be showing 5 down here, but going into videos, they would all still be shown in here. So you can still access them from here. This home screen selection is more of just like a favorites list, so to speak. So that's something else you can do to customize your experience within the default Kodi skin. A couple things I should show you too regarding some of these add-ons. I did pick some of these for a very specific reason. In episode 3 I made mention that Exodus, what it'll do when you select a movie or TV show is it will look at all the other add-ons out there, all the other servers, and pull in data from those servers and bring it in as a selection within Exodus. So Exodus isn't necessarily hosting the content themselves, they're doing the Google search for you and bringing in the links that they come back with as a result. One channel is actually hosting it. So in Exodus you might find something that says it's coming from PrimeWire. One channel is PrimeWire. So if we're going to one channel, I'll show you an example of how the server list looks different in here when you go and search for something. So we'll search for, Big Bang Theory. Select show. Now you're going to see that it's got a date that appears to be in the past. This date indicates the first episode air date for that series. Doesn't mean that it only has episodes from 2007. It just means that if there was more than one series known as the Big Bang Theory, this would be the one based on its date that you might be looking for, as opposed to one that might have aired back in 1982. So we'll pick this. We'll say season 1. Hopefully you guys aren't picking up on my loud and obnoxious washing machine that's in the background. This would really suck if one episode I have a vacuum, the other one I have a washing machine, but it is what it is, people. So we're going to pick the pilot, and you'll see in here how this differs from the list we saw in Exodus in episode 3. It doesn't have, watch free and the X movies. Like the column that would be on this side is a lot smaller. It's actually missing that quote-unquote website column, because one channel is its own website. It's doing the hosting. So now it's just showcasing you the list of servers that they're pulling from on their end. So I made mention that I don't necessarily like or have any success with prompt file. It doesn't look like prompt file is an option in here, but as you can see, I did mention that it gives you view counters, and within the settings of one channel you can sort based on views, so you can have the one with the highest view count up at the top. For me, that was almost always prompt file, and it never worked for me. It would stutter, lag, and whatnot, and I'd always end up picking Vidsy TV, the Video Me, NOS Locker, NOS Video Stream, and these ones were all a lot more up my alley for when I wanted to view the content. So this is an example of how one add-on is actually hosting it, and another add-on is looking to the hosts that are available and pulling in those search results. So I'm going to back out of here. I'm going to show you now Salts. Salts is a very, very impressive add-on as well. It has a lot more quality content in terms of HD video quality, whereas some of the add-ons that have tons of content tend to keep it more in 720p or lower. You might find a lot more 1080p or higher content within Salts. Just make note that, of course, the more impressive the quality, the larger the chances that your stream is going to lag. But first things first, when you have Salts pulled in, it doesn't work right away without you first running one very quick setting configuration. And you do that by going to the settings option and auto configure Salts. And it will run down this list. Once you continue, it'll tell you when it's all done, complete, and now you can actually make use of Salts. Salts is another example of something similar to Exodus, where it pulls from varying host locations all over the web and brings in all the search results for you. It's not necessarily hosting it. So we'll do a quick check on this one. We'll search here for same thing, Big Bang Theory. Hit done. Here it is. I'll say season 1, the pilot again. And this is it scanning all of its sources that it knows to look through to see if it can find episode 1 of season 1 of Big Bang. You can watch the screen. If this number here remains 0, there's a good chance it's going to come back telling you that it found absolutely nothing. Once you see that 0 start cycling through other numbers, then that means it's actually found stuff. So here's just like how Exodus shows it. You got your website name here, you got your quality, you got your server source. So if I was to do a Google search for ice films, I know for a fact, because I've actually done this in the past, same thing as watch series, these are in fact websites. They do in fact have hosting for this show and many other shows and movies. So you could potentially go direct to their website and not use Kodi. In the case, ultimately, of ice films, somebody actually made an ice film add-on at one point in time, and then the ice films crew, I guess once they realized that this was happening, based on the influx of traffic that their website was suddenly starting to, or not their website, but their servers were experiencing, but their website necessarily wasn't, they started to kind of fight back and make it a little bit harder for you to get ice film links to work with in Kodi, because they want you to go through their website. I guess ad revenue is involved for them in that sense, whereas you're not getting it through here, but you're still taking up all their resources to watch what it is that they're showing. So I've learned I don't really use ice films anymore. Sometimes you pick these and it'll bring up a CAPTCHA screen at the top, so it'll show you an image that has, the things when you're signing up for new accounts online these days, where it wants you to pick out the letters and numbers that are in the image and type it into a box to prove that you're a real human being. Same sort of thing is starting to happen now with ice films within Kodi. Watch series, I tend to like the watch series links. They do pretty good. If I keep going down, we'll see what else we have here. We might even get lucky and see PrimeWire. We know it's hosting because we just searched for it. And there we go, PrimeWire. So all the servers that you saw me pull up within PrimeWire are now here. And you can tell they came from PrimeWire based on this indicator on the side. So this is literally pulling data out of one channel and putting it into salts. And it's giving you the view count and the use count and the server name. So this just further goes to solidify the example I was trying to make on how this list works back in episode 3. This is in fact how it's functioning. So we're going to back out of here. That's kind of how salts functions. Now we're going to do Phoenix, and I'm going to showcase the hardship I found in Phoenix before I realized what I was doing wrong. We're going to go to Phoenix Sports and VC events and live channels. Now, I came here originally looking to watch a live feed of a sports channel. Being in Canada, TSN channels can sometimes be hard to find, as a lot of add-ons are generated with people that come from the UK or the US. So the UK channels are usually a dime a dozen, super easy to find. US channels pulling in a good close second, and then the Canada ones sort of falling to the wayside, as well as a lot of other countries, as it's not as common that an add-on will come out, and when it does, it may not necessarily be supported for very long. So when I found that Phoenix had TSN channels, I was like, great, I can finally watch my TSN because I no longer have TV. I went to click on it, it doesn't work, nothing's happening. Go up to Fox, do the same thing, nothing's happening. None of these are functioning. Now, in the older version of Phoenix, it didn't necessarily tell you this handy little tip on the side that says you're missing an add-on to make these work. So zemtv.com add-on is required to get these links to function. So I'll show you how to do that. We're going to back out of here, go back to our add-on installer, back to the front page, and let's do a search here and see if we're lucky enough that ZemTV is actually included in this fusion. Look at that, it is. So click on that, install, let it do its thing, let it tell us it's done. It's complete. Now let's go back over here, back to Phoenix. Now I may need to reload Phoenix, we'll see. Oh, we got a working bar down here. Something's actually taking place now finally. And there we go. I'm going to load one up for attempt 2. I'll see if it's going to work. I'm not going to let it stream for too long to avoid any kind of copyright claim or strike against the account. There we go. TSN. Functioning. It's not to say it's going to function 100% perfect as if you paid for TV service. Clearly it's a live stream feed that's coming from a server from X location that is X number of miles away from you. So it may stutter, it may disconnect, you may have to reload it, but it's a choice that you have that you wouldn't otherwise have unless you paid for television. So that's my example of the problem I ran into with Phoenix. So yeah, that's pretty much it. This is taking that hour-long episode of doing everything manually and understanding how things work manually and trying to shove it all into a much shorter, condensed version, more automated version, a much more user-friendly version. So now that you know how to do things on your own, this is me trying to save you some time. But if you ever run into a problem with any of these add-ons, it's important to know how to build them up from scratch on your own, so you can try and troubleshoot this stuff when problems arise on your side. And just understand, like I mentioned in previous episodes, that you can't just go to Kodi looking for help on this, because Kodi isn't the one that made these add-ons. Kodi's the one that made Kodi. If these add-ons aren't working within Kodi, Kodi's not going to help you with that. You have to go to the people that made the add-ons. Let me tell you, that's not necessarily easy to do when you're dealing with dozens of add-ons, and 8 or 9 of them stop working all at the same time, you're suddenly going and hoping you can find a tech support representative on the other end of what could be a very gray area of legality, and just hope that they're able to help you. So yeah, I hope this little segment here has done you well. What I might do now, depending on the length of this video, if you notice that it's not ending in a few seconds, I'm thinking I may add on the track.tv, or I may put that into another segment. Just have to wait and see. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good day.